It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Golden State Warriors PA announcer, Matt Pittman. How are you doing today?
Pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in professional sports as a PA announcer?
Well, I knew from a pretty early age, my early teens, as much as I enjoyed and have always loved and enjoyed sports. I enjoyed as much hearing the PA announcers at the Sonics games I went to as a kid, and the Sonics and PA announcer was a guy named Jim Gracie, and I just loved the energy and the kind of theatrical nature of the whole thing. And the same for the Mariners public address announcer for years and years. There's been a guy named Tom Hutler. He's just got this iconic, deep voice, and the way he said Ken Griffey Jr. was just awesome. And so I always kind of paid attention, watching games in person. I always paid attention to the announcers as much as I did the game itself. So I knew, hey, I might want to do this if I ever get the chance.
Can you talk about, of course, getting the opportunity with the Seattle Sonics and the Seattle Storm as the PA announcer?
Sure. So I was young. I was 23 when I got hired as the PA announcer for the Sonics, and that was kind of like a dream job for me. Like I said, I loved. We went to games. My dad had season tickets all through the 90s, the great years that they had there. But so when I was about 23, I was working for the flagship radio station of the Sonics, and their PA announcer, Jim Gracie, was moving out of town, and they let me know that, hey, you should audition for this. You'd be great. And I did, and it worked. And then, I kept the Storm job even after the Sonics had moved to Oklahoma City. The Sonics obviously stayed in Seattle, and that was part of my deal, was to do the Sonics and the Storm. And so I just continued to do the Storm.
What was your time like with the Seahawks Storm?
With the Storm and the Sonics, man, it was awesome. Just getting a chance to be the announcer at Key Arena for the Sonics. The dream job that I wanted as a kid was really a privilege. But in my first year with first or second year with the Sonics, had a deep playoff run that was really exciting. They played beat the Sacramento Kings, and then the San Antonio, and then lost in 6 to the Spurs in the playoffs. And then with the Storm, it's just been. And then I should also mention with the Sonics, I got a chance to see Kevin Durant in his rookie year, which is pretty cool. Rookie year in the NBA with the Sonics before they moved to Oklahoma City. But with the Storm, just being there for so long and getting a chance to develop really special relationships with the fans, to where we were very much in sync with the way that I would prompt them, the way they would react to certain things that I would say, or deliveries that I have. But I would also feed off of them, because they were very smart, very energetic. This is Speedy, by the way. Very smart, very passionate fans. And I could always tell when they were really dialed into a moment, like when the Storm would go on a run, the fans were there. So sometimes I didn't have to say something, or sometimes I could just compliment where I kind of knew they were. And then the other side of that, just get the chance to watch Sue Bird, her entire career remains one of the great privileges of mine, because she's such an iconic, talented player. She's as clutch as it gets. She's the best leader of any athlete I've ever watched. And I was able to announce the WNBA finals in 2010 and 2018 when the Storm won, and then again in 2020 in the WNBA bubble when the Storm won again, even though it wasn't in Seattle, it was down in Florida because of the bubble and COVID and everything. But getting a chance to be the announcer for 3 of their 4 championships is pretty special too.
What was it like to announce, of course, the championship game?
Well, I mean, it was really special. It was really cool. You know, the whole place is sold out. You're on national television. And you know, everything is just that so much more. Everything's intense. The warm-ups are more intense. The halftime is performances are better and more, significant, I guess. But the national anthem is much more dramatic. I mean, it's just heightened. Everything is on level 10, from the way that the players are playing to the energy of the fans to everything else that's going on. There's really nothing like it.
What are some of your favorite and memorable moments with the Seattle Storm?
Well, for sure, the three championships, 2010 and 2017, those games were in Seattle. 2010, that was a special team because they were coming off a few years where they were kind of building up to something good, but they weren't quite at a level where I thought that year people may have been a little bit like taken by surprise that they competed and won the way they did. And that was my first WNBA finals. That was obviously special. 2017's WNBA finals, I'm sorry, 2018. That's probably my favorite. And it would actually probably be the playoff run leading up to it. In the Western Conference Finals, it was an epic series between the Storm and the Phoenix Mercury. And that was, a series where Sue Bird broke her nose and had to miss a game. But or I don't think she missed a game. I think she missed like the rest of the game after she broke her nose, obviously, but missed some time. And then she came back and literally put the team on her shoulders in the fourth quarter of, I think, game 6. And it was one of the most remarkable in-person performances I've ever seen.
What are some of the catchphrases that you used with the Seattle Storm?
With the Storm, gosh, there were a few. I'm trying to remember what some of them were. And I do this with the Warriors too, and I did it with the Sonics too. But on the 5th team foul, I in a real low voice say penalty, because we're being shooting free throws. With the Storm, I started doing that years ago. When the moment was right, in the right setting, in the right situation, late in the game or coming off a big basket, right before the visiting team was bringing the ball down the floor and they'd get about to half court, I'd say louder, and the fans would just like react like the voice of God was imploring them to make more noise. And I don't do that here with the Warriors. Frankly, the Warriors fans, they don't need it. And after, the Storm fans really didn't need it either, but they just really liked it and it stuck. I didn't feel stupid when I said it, so I just kept doing it.
What was it like to call?
And I guess one more with the Storm that became very signature was when I announced Sue Bird. I would announce her last name really long, Sue, very long, and the fans picked that up and they did that along with me too, and that was cool. Sorry to interrupt you.
Speaking about Sue Bird, what was it like calling games for her?
It was amazing. I've called just about every game in her professional career. This will be the first season that I won't, because I'm not in Seattle. But she's got a leadership quality and a presence on the floor that is so special and so rare. She's not a shoot first player. She's made some incredible passes. I'll never see those again. But not being a player who tends to shoot first, she's not like James Harden or Steph Curry or someone like that. But when she does shoot, she likes big shots and big moments. And if she comes gunning for you, watch out, because she will beat you. She's about the most clutch player I've ever seen. I think that's the best way to sum up Sue's game.
What was it like for you to get the job as the PA announcer for the Golden State Warriors?
It was incredible. It was awesome. It was something I wasn't looking for, because I was in Seattle, and the Warriors came up to Seattle to play a preseason game in 2018. It was Kevin Durant's last season with the Warriors, and he wanted to play a preseason game in Seattle because Key Arena was about to close, and that was where he was a rookie. And so they needed a PA announcer, and I ended up doing it. And the Warriors liked what they heard enough to track me down and have some conversations. And not quite a year later, I was living down here and doing Warriors games. It's crazy. It was a very surreal experience. It's very humbling to have your talents in all the years of work recognized and appreciated, especially by an organization at that high a level of the Golden State Warriors. Because keep in mind, the Warriors were coming off of 5 straight championships. 4 straight years in the Western Conference Finals, 4 years as the Western Conference champions, and they'd won 3 of the last 4 and back-to-back NBA championships. So, I mean, to have the Warriors wanting me to come down here to San Francisco and be a part of what they're doing, it was, and it remains just about the coolest thing ever. And the chance to get back in the NBA and to be able to do it for a championship organization like the Warriors it was a no-brainer once you figured out that I could make it work moving down here, and getting the chance to open up Chase Center. It's one of those once in a lifetime professional experiences.
Of course, have you called the championship games before for the Warriors?
I have not called any of their championship games. Last time they won the title was in 2017, 2018, and I wasn't here then. And then last year, number one, we were not very good. The Warriors weren't very good last year, so they didn't even make the playoffs. They didn't even go to the NBA bubble. So I haven't had a chance to call any of their championship games. Hopefully very, very soon. We've had some really special games down the stretch here, closing into the NBA playoffs. The last 2 games, they beat the number 1 and number 2 teams in the Western Conference, respectively, on back-to-back nights, as the last night's win with against Phoenix. And even though Chase Center has only 30 or 40% of its fans, I mean, it felt like, I was getting a taste of what it's like in playoff basketball for the Warriors, for sure.
What are your roles as the producer editor for the Warriors?
I edit video, work with our assignment editors to get different projects for the different initiatives that we're producing things for. So we an advertiser, or it's a player feature, or it's something having to do with one of the events that we have coming up in the arena, like a Asian American Heritage Night or a Filipino Heritage Night, like we've had recently. It's editing and producing video content.
What is it like to call games for Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson?
Well, I tell you what, man, there is it is hard for me to explain what it's like to call games for Steph Curry, because man, I can't tell you what it's like with calling games for Steph, because I've never seen anything like it. He is a performer. Not only is he the best shooter to ever shoot a basketball in the history of humankind, he understands the moment. He understands that he's doing it in front of fans, or he's doing it, on national television, and he makes big shots. He has fun creating new shots. He's also incredibly smart, finds ways to get up. I've never seen anything like it. And one thing that I've noticed recently this season, he's having this MVP season, but I've noticed the last couple months that he's just been on a tear, is that a lot of the guys who sit at the table with the scorers table with me, like our scorekeeper or the time clock operators, most of these guys have been here for 20 or 30 years. They're OGs, right? And they've seen Steph his entire career. They've seen him win 2 MVPs. They've seen him win 3 championships. Watching them react to what Steph is doing this year, like it's the first time they're ever seeing this guy do really special stuff, just tells you how really special he is. I mean, it's just amazing. I think what makes it so much cooler with Steph is that he's an even better person, and that's not just hyperbole. It's the truth. I mean, he's just an amazing person. He's an amazing teammate. He's an amazing steward in this community. And you'd root for that guy, even if he was the 14th guy on your bench, right? But the fact that he's putting up the historic season that he's doing now and having so much fun doing it, makes it that much easier. Calling games for Klay, the only game I've gotten a call for Klay was the game I did in Seattle because he's been injured, unfortunately, the last 2 years. But I can't wait because he's another really, really, dynamic, special player who he hits big shots. That's just what he does. And so I can't wait. And I know Klay a little bit because he went to Washington State and spent some time up in, my home state of Washington. And so we bonded kind of over that a little bit. So he's another good dude who I just, really can't wait to get back on the floor and be able to call some of his big baskets too.
Of course, what are some of the most popular catchphrases that you use for the Warriors?
Well, that's a good question. Being new last year, I didn't do a ton of like catchphrasey, slogan, crazy new stuff. Because, being the new guy, in a high profile position like that, my philosophy, and at least what I've seen others who've done it well in the past do, is just kind of stick with what got them there in the first place. And over time, a big moment here, a funny moment there, you can interject a little personality, but just kind of keep it simple. And that's what I did last year. And of course, our season got cut short last year. And then we started this year without fans. So I really haven't had a chance to interject too much. And the other thing is, we've got a hype man at Chase, and his name's Franco Finn. He's been there for years, but he's out in the crowd or on our entertainment stage doing the more hypey stuff. So I get to focus on just like good old fashioned basketball announcer stuff. But if I had to say one, I like when they go to the free throw line, like Stephen Curry to the free throw line shooting 2. And I like the way it echoes in the building. And I've heard fans start to kind of emulate that a little bit, which is a good sign that they don't hate it. So I'm sure that, more of that stuff will come out in the years to come as the longer that I do these games here in San Francisco with fans around, and they'll learn to put up with my quirks, and I'll learn to pick up on their energy even better too. So hopefully next time we talk, I'll have at least 1 or 2 more catchphrases.
Of course, with COVID being a big factor and fans not being able to go to Warriors games, how important is it for you as a PA announcer to be the voice of the fans and bring that energy when there is no fans in the stadium?
That's a really good question. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be like here with the Warriors this season. Now, I did do the WNBA bubble, the entire WNBA season last summer, which I was in the middle of COVID. We were in a bubble, but I was down in Bradenton, Florida, and it wasn't a home arena for those players and those teams. Now, we technically had home teams and away teams, but it was still it felt very much like a neutral site. But here at Chase Center this year, this is the Warriors' home arena. These are home games. You have a home court advantage because you're staying in your house, sleeping in your bed, showering in your shower. You're not living out of a suitcase. You're driving your car to the arena, parking in your parking spot, going to your locker, right? That every home advantage that a team has is what the Warriors have here, and what teams in the NBA had this season, even without fans. But you're right. There's a certain energy that also comes with being a home game. And so, me and my director and our executive producers, all decided, hey, we're going to do our stuff like we normally would with fans here, because it's on television and the fans like the atmospherics and the energy, all the light shows, the announcer, all those in the background, stuff like that. They like seeing their team's logo on the court. You know what I mean? They like that home court feeling, even when they're watching on television. But the fact that, I was announcing our home team's baskets like I would if there were home team fans there, and I was announcing the away team like I would if they're away team with no fans, the players did pick up on the energy. They've told me so. They're like, man, it's nice that you're here and that they're playing our music and all this stuff. And, since there weren't fans around, I got a chance to interact a little bit more with players during timeouts and before games and stuff, because it was just a much more condensed environment of who was actually on the floor and around. And they definitely appreciated my enthusiasm and my energy, which has been kind of cool to see that and build some of those relationships.
What is it like personally for you to call games whenever, of course, LeBron James with the Lakers come and, of course, Kobe White with the Chicago Bulls come to Golden State?
Um, I love it. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't, in my position. I think any other PA announcer in the NBA would tell you that they love watching Steph Curry play in their place as much as I love watching LeBron or, James Harden, or last night Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of my favorite players ever. Devin Booker. I mean, just getting a chance to watch them in person, and I've got the best seat in the house, front row, center court. Come on, how could I not? But off comes the fan hat and on comes the announcer hat. And so when LeBron scores a crazy looking bucket, I don't get up and scream like I would when Steph does it. It's LeBron James. I just like that. That's the environment. That's what we do. But it doesn't mean I'm not appreciating watching them and enjoying watching them. I just can't root for them.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments as the PA announcer for the Golden State Warriors?
Honestly, this stretch of basketball in the second half of the season right now is, because keep in mind, it's a short window. I only started last year and we got cut off because of COVID last year. And, but this year, watching Stephen Curry put on an MVP clinic every single night, he's scoring 30 points a night. He's going to probably win the scoring title. So watching the run that he's been on all season has been amazing. And seeing his greatness in person really for the first time, night in, night out has, just been mind blowing. But also watching the team, like still have a very young team, watching them come together and seeing guys like Jordan Poole and Michael Mulder and some of those guys kind of, turn into Juan Toscano Anderson, watching those guys turn into NBA, players in games that matter with a playoff spot on the line. That's been really, really cool too. Obviously, Steph scored 62 points and set his, career high earlier this season. That's probably tops on the list, and probably right behind it would be the first game at Chase Center, opening up Chase Center last season. The Warriors had played in Oakland for years, and Oakland was an amazing home and just an incredible fan base, and had a unique atmosphere at Oracle Arena that, can never be replicated. But moving over to San Francisco represented something new. It was a $1.6 billion arena. It's a palace right on Mission Bay and the waterfront in San Francisco. It's absolutely beautiful. And so being there to open it up and do the first game there last season, Carlos Santana played the national anthem, and he was standing right in front of me. Come on. It was really, really, really special.
What is some of your favorite things that you've done so far, and what is something that you learned now that you didn't know before becoming a PA announcer?
Some of my favorite things that I've done. The 2017 WNBA All-Star Game was really, really cool. Really cool. And I'd always wanted to do an All-Star game. The finals and the championships in Seattle with the Storm. The WNBA bubble, being a PA announcer, and for the first time, really, we were on before we started. I think the weekend before the NBA starts, we were the first of the major sports leagues to come back without fans. Major League Baseball started shortly after. NBA started a week after. We were the first one, so no one knew what it was going to be like with, how's the announcer going to announce? What are the players going to do? And there's, are they going to play music with that? So being a part of that in such a weird time and unique environment of really a first in American sports history will probably always go down as one of the most rewarding and unique things that I've done. Calling Steph's 62 points is way up there. Ray Allen in 2005, 2006 set what at the time was the single season 3-point record. I think he needed like 9 threes, and he got all of them. But after every three, he'd hold up a finger about like how many he got. He was a showman about it. And Ray was one of my favorite players ever. So those are the things that come to mind. I've done a 3-on-3 basketball tournament in the Mall of America during the Final Four 2 years ago. I did the college slam dunk championship and 3-point championships at the Final Four in Indianapolis this last season. That was a ton of fun. And I've done Oh, this one was cool. I did Major League Rugby, which I didn't know anything about rugby until I was asked to do the job and then had to study up quickly. And as part of that, I was offered the chance to go out to Chicago, and they had what's called the Rugby Weekend, sponsored by USA Rugby. And some of the best rugby players and rugby teams in the world were playing at Soldier Field, and I got to announce 2 full days of rugby at Soldier Field in Chicago, and that was pretty cool too. And as far as things that I've learned, I'd say you have to be right all the time, and that's not hard that's not easy because we're humans. See, I just messed up saying it wasn't. I meant to say, that's not easy, and I said it's not hard. See, we're humans. We make mistakes all the time. But at this level in professional sports, the fans aren't the only ones relying on the information to be correct when you're calling out personal fouls, team fouls, what the refs are saying, what their ruling on the floor was, or whatever like that. Pronouncing players' names. There's players from all over the world and all different backgrounds and families with names that we don't come across in our day-to-day life, but you got to be able to get those right. And so like your preparation always has to be at 100%. If you take the mic and you're not prepared, you're going to sound like you're not prepared, and that's terrible. And it's not something that I've learned recently. It's something that I learned a long time ago, because you make one mistake in front of 17, 18,000 people, you don't want to ever do it again. So being prepared is something. The biggest thing that I've learned that is a lesson that I'll never forget. I am always prepared when I take the mic, and I work hard at it.
What advice would you give somebody looking to get into being a PA announcer for a professional sports team?
Find a place to start. Whether you're not going to start in the NBA. Like I got lucky. Little bit. I mean, I was in the right place at the right time. I, was around the Sonics and knew people with the organization. So most people aren't going to have those kind of opportunities. So whether it is just volunteering to do PA work at a high school near you, or even, finding a place like a rec league and asking, hey, can I bring a microphone and a speaker and announce your games, and seeing if they'll let you do it. Just do it. Just start anywhere, because the more experience you have, the earlier you learn things like be prepared all the time, or go ask a player how to pronounce his name if you don't know it. Communicate with the referees before every game so you understand their hand signals and to make eye contact with you and all that stuff. You learn the tricks of the trade earlier, you're going to be better at it earlier. So start any way you can. Don't be embarrassed to ask like a local middle school or high school or wherever, you can take a microphone and a speaker and go practice.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
On Twitter, I'm at Matt Pittman, MattPittman. And that's probably the best place.
Thank you again, Matt Pittman, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Golden State Warriors as the PA announcer.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Matt Pittman, for your interview, and best of luck with the Golden State Warriors.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.